I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and in this video we're going to talk all about winches for your TJ. And JK, I'm going to give you my picks for a couple of different winches, going from some that have fewer features and are a little bit more budget friendly to some that have a ton of features and are going to be a little bit more expensive. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out other comparison videos like this, as well as other product videos and just generally some really awesome Jeep content. So the three winches that we're going to talk about, my three picks, are first the Rugged Ridge 8,500-pound winch, and that's going to be one of the least expensive options and also something that's fairly simple, not a ton of additional features. Then we'll get into the Barricade 9,500-pound winch with synthetic line, and finally the Smittybilt Gen 2 X20 12,000-pound winch with synthetic line and a wireless controller. And as you can tell by the very long name, that has a ton of different features and is also going to be the most expensive winch that we're going to talk about today. So when you're looking at a winch, there are a couple of things to consider. One is going to be pulling capacity. Now, the general rule of thumb is that you want your pulling capacity to be roughly 1.5 times the loaded trail weight of your Jeep. So if you have a very light two-door, you can get away with something with a little bit less pulling capacity. And if you have a big, heavy, armored four-door, you get buried up to the axles in mud every single weekend, you're gonna want something with a little bit of a higher capacity. The other big decision to make is whether you want steel or synthetic line. Now, we have a whole video all about that, but in a nutshell, the synthetic line is going to be easier to work with, a little bit safer, but also a little bit more expensive and not going to hold up as well over time. So definitely some trade-offs there, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. Regardless of which winch you choose, they're all going to install fairly easily onto your Jeep. You are going to need either a winch plate or a winch-ready bumper. Even if you're not somebody who's comfortable with wiring, this is a very easy item to install, so most of you are going to be able to tackle this in your driveway. But let's get into my picks. So my first pick I want to talk about is this Rugged Ridge 8,500-pound winch, and this is going to be a very good winch, but it's going to be less expensive than some of the other options because it doesn't have a lot of those additional features. This is more of a basic, just get the job done style winch. So as it says right on the front, 8,500-pound pulling capacity. So for those of you with some lighter rigs, that's going to be more than enough. And remember, with the proper setup with the snatch block, you can double the pulling capacity of your winch. So if you do need a little bit more, you can always get that if you have a proper gear bag setup. As you can see here, this winch does come with a steel line on it, and that steel line, again, is going to be just fine. It's absolutely going to get the job done. Now, it is going to be a little bit heavier to drag up hills. It can get kinked and it can splinter, so you have to definitely be careful, wear some gloves when you're using it, but the benefit to it is that it doesn't need a lot of maintenance. You put it on there, it's pretty much good to go, and because this is one of our less expensive winches, part of that reason is because of the steel line. The synthetic's a lot more expensive. The steel is going to help keep the cost down. Now, some of the features that some of those other winches we're going to talk about are going to have are going to be things like a wireless remote, a waterproof solenoid pack, and of course the synthetic line. So if those are things that you're interested in, we have those options, but do be prepared to spend a little bit more. My next pick is the Barricade 9,500-pound winch with synthetic line. Now, this is going to be very similar to that Rugged Ridge winch that we just talked about. However, there are a couple of major differences that I want to point out. One, this is a 9,500-pound winch, so you're going to have that extra 1,000 pounds of pulling capacity. If you have a little bit more armor or you just want a little bit more grunt out of your winch, this is going to give you just that. The other major difference is right here. This has synthetic line where that other one had steel line. The synthetic line is going to be a benefit in a couple of different ways. One, this is going to be lighter, so when you're dragging it up those steep muddy hills trying to hook up your winch, it's going to be a little bit easier on you. It's also not going to kink. And maybe most importantly, it's a little bit safer. That steel line, while it still stretches under load just like synthetic, steel will store that energy, so if it breaks, it snaps back, can cause damage or injury, where synthetic line, if it breaks, just falls to the ground. So again, a couple of different benefits to the synthetic line. However, synthetic is going to be more expensive, require a little bit more maintenance, and needs to be changed out a little bit more often, so definitely some trade-offs. It's my opinion that the benefits outweigh the drawbacks to synthetic line. I really like synthetic on my winches. Now, as I said, other than that, this is going to be pretty similar to that Rugged Ridge winch. It's going to have a fairly simple solenoid box that is not going to be waterproof. It's going to have a wired winch controller, and it is going to come with a fair lead, although because this has synthetic line, it's going to be a Hawes fair lead where the steel comes with a roller. And last but not least, we have the Smittybilt Gen 2 X20 12,000-pound winch with synthetic line and a wireless remote. This is going to have the most features of all the winches that we talked about, as well as the most pulling capacity. As it says right on the front, you get 12,000 pounds of pulling capacity. So whether, again, you have a big, heavy, loaded down four-door JK, you get stuck in some deep mud, or maybe you have some buddies with some full-size pickups that you want to be able to help out, this is going to be one of the highest pulling capacity winches that we offer, and really some of the highest pulling capacities that you'll see on most JKs. Of course, you do have the synthetic line. You're going to have all the benefits of the synthetic line that we talked about on that barricade winch, most importantly being safety. Over here is going to be another major difference between this winch and the other ones that we talked about. This solenoid pack is completely waterproof. The other ones are not. So whether you go through some deep water, you're in mud a lot, or you just want to make sure your solenoid pack is protected when you're driving down the road and it's raining out, this is going to be completely waterproof. So that's a really nice feature. Some people will try and remote mount other solenoid packs up underneath the hood, try and seal them up with silicone. With this, you don't have to worry about that. Another major difference is right over here in the remote. While it might look like the remote of the other winches that we talked about, this one does have a wireless option. So you have some batteries in there. You're going to be able to use that remote from a distance further than the 12-foot cord would let you, whether you're winching from inside the vehicle and you don't want the cord to get tangled up, or you're outside the vehicle and you just want to stay in a nice, safe area away from the winch line, away from all the moving pieces. You're going to have lots of flexibility with this wireless remote. But unlike some others, if the batteries do run out, if you have any issues with connections, you can always just plug in the wire and you have that. So no matter what, this winch is going to be there and be working for you. Then finally, you have your hawse fair lead that you would normally have with any other synthetic line winch. Like I said, this is going to be the highest pulling capacity we're going to talk about today, as well as the winch with the most features. However, it's also going to be the priciest winch that we talked about. So those are my picks for 3 different winches that are going to do a couple of different things for you. We talked about the Rugged Ridge 8,500 pound winch, the Barricade 9,500 with synthetic line, and finally that Smittybilt X20 Gen 2 with synthetic line and wireless remote. Again, these are just my picks. There are going to be a lot of different winch options out there. Make sure you comment below to let us know which one's your favorite, what you're running on your Jeep, and how you like it. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out other videos like this, as well as some other great Jeep content.